Welcome to this explainer. If you've ever felt completely overwhelmed by just the sheer mountain of endless parenting advice out there, trust me, you are definitely not alone. Today, we're doing something a little different. We are taking a really fascinating look at some incredible source material on child rearing. We're going to transform what usually feels like a totally random list of parenting tips into a highly structured, totally actionable framework. We're calling it intentional parenting. And let me tell you, actually pulling this off, it requires a pretty massive mindset shift.
To kick things right off, we've got to address a really stark contrast: being a parent versus being a friend. The source makes this absolutely crystal clear. You can't just be their friend all the time. As much as we want to be, sometimes we absolutely have to do things our kids are gonna hate. Why? Because, well, it's for their own long-term benefit. I mean, it is so much easier to just give them what they want in the moment, right? To just be their buddy and keep the peace. But intentional parenting, that means stepping up to the plate and setting those firm, sometimes unpopular boundaries.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our mental map for today. We'll start with the intentional parent paradigm. Then we'll look at boundaries and daily structure, move on to responsibility and practical skills, tackle core values and character, and finally wrap up with connection, culture, and creativity. Section 1, the intentional parent paradigm. This is the overarching perspective that makes literally everything else we're going to talk about possible. So the very first step of intentional parenting is recognizing that good habits are, well, they're kind of like seedlings. They have to be planted and nurtured really early in childhood. You can't just wait until they're teenagers and cross your fingers hoping they suddenly figure it out. No way. You've got to set the tone right from day one to lay the groundwork for the whole shebang.
Moving into Section 2, boundaries and daily structure. Let's look at how establishing daily rhythms and rules actually shapes a truly respectful household.
Now, there is this brilliantly simple cause and effect technique from the source material for getting regular sleep habits locked in. Instead of fighting every single night to get your kids to sleep early so they can wake up early, you flip it. It's genius. Step 1, force the early morning wake up first. Step 2, depend on that early wake up to naturally make them tired enough to just crash early at night. It's highly practical, it relies completely on their natural biology, and honestly, it works like a charm. And that structured approach extends straight into their daily behavior. There are 4 key boundaries we really need to highlight here. First off, teach them patience. They absolutely need to learn to wait their turn and not interrupt when adults are talking. Second, you really don't have to sugarcoat everything with baby talk all the time. It is perfectly fine, actually it's encouraged, to use adult talk sometimes to elevate their understanding. Third, and this is a tough one, kids just need to know they aren't going to get everything they desire. As brutal as it is to endure a full-blown tantrum in the middle of the grocery store, they simply have to get over their fleeting whims. And fourth, dress codes actually matter. Dressing them appropriately for different occasions becomes super important as they grow up and start navigating the real world. All right, Section 3, responsibility and practical skills. Let's see how those boundaries we just talked about build directly into hands-on responsibility. The bottom line here is that kids need to contribute to the physical maintenance of the home. The source outlines some very specific, basic expectations. We're talking cleaning their own room, sorting out their shelves, and yes, even helping out with the laundry. Having real skin in the game is exactly what builds competence and true independence. But it's not just about tidying up. A massive part of this is learning to respect food and the whole preparation process. Get your kids active in the kitchen. Let them literally get their hands dirty, sense the ingredients, and truly experience what cooking takes. When they finally see the actual time and effort that goes into making just a single meal, they learn a profound, lasting respect for the food on their plate. It's basically a full sensory lesson in gratitude. Moving on to Section 4, core values and character. So, transitioning from physical chores, we're now stepping into the moral groundwork, the internal compass, if you will. Now, before we get into anything overly philosophical, the source lays down a firm, absolute baseline rule. Disrespecting parents or adults is absolutely not allowed, period. It's a hard, non-negotiable boundary, and it acts as an anchor for all other character development. Without this foundational respect in place, the rest of the values we want to teach simply cannot take root. Comparison is a destroyer of happiness and peace. I want you to just pause for a second and let the gravity of that statement sink in. Actually, teaching our kids not to constantly compare themselves to everyone else around them is, without a doubt, one of the most crucial lessons they can ever learn. It's the absolute key to maintaining their internal peace and finding lifelong happiness in what is, let's face it, a highly competitive world.
And building right on that piece, we really have to lead by example. Because make no mistake, they are always watching us. Always. We've got to teach them to genuinely value money and their privileges, no matter how tiny those things might seem. We also need to actively show them the importance of sharing, caring, and looking out for others in their community. And lastly, we've got to encourage them to step up, take on responsibility, and really embrace leadership roles when the time comes.
Which brings us to our final section, Section 5, Connection, Culture, and Creativity. This is all about how kids interact with their roots and their environment. Now, the absolute game changer here is how we view boredom. We need to completely redefine it. Listen to this. Boredom is not a problem that you, the parent, need to solve. It's actually a necessary state. Seriously, let your kids be bored. Being bored literally forces them to come up with their own ideas to pass the time. It sparks incredible out-of-the-box creative thinking. It pushes them to invent their own fun and gets them to finally go outside and play. And you know, just like a deeply rooted tree, grounding our kids in their family history provides this completely unshakable sense of connection and belonging. Take them over to their grandparents' place and let them just spend quality time soaking it in. Dig out the old photos and videos to show them exactly where they came from. Make a real effort to actively involve them in your family traditions and cultural activities. This is the stuff that anchors them in the world and gives them a really secure, confident identity. So that brings us to our final, parting thought for the day. Ask yourself, are you building a friendship for today, or are you laying the foundation stones for their tomorrow? Everything we've covered today kind of forces us to reflect on the real, long-term impact of our everyday choices. It's tough, gritty work doing the things they might hate right now, but raising a grounded, responsible human being, that makes every bit of it worth it. Keep that question rolling around in your mind as you go about your day. Thanks so much for exploring this with me.